Hello, everybody. Welcome along to the Championship Check-In podcast. I'm here with Sam Parkin to talk about the greatest league in world football. Sam, it's coming to an end. If only there was a way we could add 3 more games on at the end of the season just to elongate this thing. But how you doing, my friend? You are muted, Mr. Parkin.
I don't want to say an anticlimax, but it just feels sad, doesn't it, when it's coming towards a tail end? And we've been so excitedly talking about all the permutations and teams' form and players' form, and all of a sudden, all the trophies are handed out, and then you're building up to the new season. But yeah, really excited about the prospect of final day, and obviously the playoffs, which, like every football fan, every EFL fan, I absolutely adore.
Except the ones that are in third place, they tend to not adore them, don't they? But we have this conversation every season, and I'm not having it again. Let's dive straight in to Parkin's pick. Just a quick, I haven't said hello to the viewers, Sam. Quick hello to everybody. If you're watching live, we're on YouTube and Twitter. Get your comments in. Sam will do a couple of questions at the end and have your say. Everything we are talking about. Sam, there can be only one thing to start the show with. What are we kicking off with on Parkin's pick?
Final day shenanigans at the summit, I suppose. Shall I frame it like that?
Yeah, let's frame it like that. And not to deal with them quickly and get them out of the way, but congratulations to Leicester City, Sam. No sooner were they here than they're gone. They've bounced straight back. What's their legacy going to be? I mean, we have the conversation about the parachute payments era and the power of the relegated teams every season. There's a manager who's got a first-time potential 100-point season coming in. There's the financial fair play breach, which is going to be revisited in the Premier League. What is Leicester City's legacy this season in the Championship?
That's a good question. I mean, my lasting memory, probably going into summer, we'll be seeing them in the space of 5 days, hardly creating a chance at Millwall and Plymouth Argyle, which is crazy to think that they had that run of 3 games, which I was always really hesitant about, backing them fully. What was it? Preston, I'm going backwards here, West Brom and Southampton, wasn't it? They were the 3 games I thought, that could really curtail their Championship push, and it was actually the opposite way around. They've dealt with those 3 games in brilliant fashion. Legacy, I suppose, loads of admiration for the manager coming in. Yeah, he's got great players, don't get me wrong, but they got him in early, and the speed at which the players adopted quite a different style to the previous couple of managers. Certainly the latter part of last season when they had Dean Smith at the helm, if memory serves me right. This is quite different, the way they were set up, quite intricate, really stylish football. Obviously, went and cherry-picked those players that were going to be fundamental. The goalkeeper, Harry Winks, probably question marks about the centre-halves. Could they be as comfortable on the ball as they have proved to be? Trusting them, improving players, great wingers. How much have we enjoyed those 2? No, I don't think many people in this country...
Fatawu against Southampton, that's one of my favourite individual performances of the whole season last Tuesday. Brilliant.
Yeah, and I'd say Mavadidi, there was a game at Southampton that I was at, which he was really good. There was the goal at West Brom, the little chip. I think those 2 have thrilled, haven't they, really? The 2 wire players. So, yeah, I suppose the rise of some lesser-known names, part of that. But I just think the style. And yeah, it's not been to everyone's taste internally, if I'm talking about some of the punters for a moment, but to the neutrals like myself, going to watch them, it's been away from home quite a lot. I don't think I've been to the King Power this season. They've been really good, and food for thought ahead of next year. How do they attack it? Can they, I suppose, be solid, but carry that real explosiveness, creativity, in what will probably have to be a little bit more of a counter-attacking style at times next season, then I'm sure they can take some points. What it's going to look like fully is anyone's guess, isn't it? Over the summer to play with, and obviously a recruitment drive that'll be I was going to say underway. Maybe they have to temper that given the factors that you just noted.
Can have this comedy, Sam, of they'll probably come out of embargo when they go from the EFL to the Premier League, and then we're expecting a minus at some point. Let's move on to it then. So I'm going to say this now. Sam and I are filming the predictions after this. So you're not going to get Sam Parkin's view on the order of second and third and sixth and seventh and 20th, 21st, 22nd, etc. But the situation going into the final day, Sam, is Ipswich, if they score a point, they are promoted to the Premier League. If Leeds United, the only way they can get up now is to win, and Ipswich have to lose at home to Huddersfield. This came about from honestly, the biggest game, or the two biggest games in this. One was QPR 4, Leeds 0 on Friday, which completely flipped the script, which meant Ipswich needed 5 points when they possibly could have needed 7 or 9 going through the last games of the season, the 3-game week. And then Ipswich go into Coventry and getting just a monumental victory there. Talk to me about Leeds first, Sam, because to be completely honest about this, everybody's fluffed their lines at the top of the table. You mentioned Leicester losing to it was Plymouth and Millwall, wasn't it? Ipswich hadn't won for 4 games, and it looks like Ipswich's ability to not lose games is potentially the difference going into the final weekend, given that I think it's 27 wins apiece, Ipswich and Leeds. And Leeds just, I think, 3 defeats in this last sort of handful of games. We can't talk definitively. Obviously, Ipswich are strong favourites now, but talk to me about Leeds as we go into the final game of the season.
Yeah, I know you've been feeling a bit blurry at all the games and the days where we are, and that Leeds QPR game feels an eternity ago. But yeah, it was a real alarming performance, wasn't it? I don't think there's any getting away from that. I think there's some individuals that are, really struggling for form. I think you can start with the goalkeeper. If you look at individuals, I think Mellier's been clearly up there in terms of clean sheets and performances before maybe the last month or two, but he's having a difficult time. That partnership of Rodon and Ampadu that looks so good doesn't look as strong at the moment. And structurally, I don't know if there's a bit of an issue with Gray playing in midfield rather than playing at fullback. I just thought they were so open at Rangers from the off, and I think on reflection, my takeaway from that game from a Leeds perspective was that game they could have closed down and kept things really tight. And QPR played incredibly well and exploited those gaps in the first half. And there was a huge gulf between the two sides. But I just think in such a must-win game, keep it tight. Keep it tight. I think of when Arsenal had to go to Liverpool and win by 2 clear goals. And George Graham's tactics were like, if it's 0-0 after 70, 80 minutes or whatever, I'll snap your hand off for that. Stay in the game. And I just think Leeds were too open, and Willock, Chair, Anderson, those chaps were on it, completely on it. So I worry about them structurally. I worry about shipping 7 goals in 2 games. Another factor I thought on the night and potentially for the final game and the playoffs, no Dan James I thought was an impactful absentee. No Bamford off the bench. So all of a sudden you're looking at 2 changes that Daniel Farke could turn to unavailable to him. And obviously he made his changes too late in that game. I think half time, given the state of the play by then, you got to go. You got to go for it. So I think 60 minutes, 65 minutes or whatever was a little bit too late. And it's a test for them now, isn't it, to galvanise themselves? Absolutely, to play themselves back into some kind of rhythm in this Southampton game, which for all truth and purposes, I don't really know what we're going to get. I mean, what we're going to get from this game. Southampton are obviously in no form whatsoever. Inevitably, they're probably going to rotate. It's going to rotate probably for this game. Not going to risk maybe.
Downs and Armstrong not be involved last week, I think.
There you go. So I don't really know what you're going to get from this, but yeah, absolutely, that was worrying from a Leeds perspective, and maybe Daniel Farke will have to look at 1 or 2 different little options this weekend.
And so that leads us to Ipswich, and yeah, as I say, everyone's tripped over the shoelaces in the in the running, haven't they? It was kind of epic 3-3 draw against Hull on Saturday. We wondered whether it would be 1 point, 1 point, 3 points to make the 5 after the defeat for Leeds at QPR on Friday, Sam. But big win for Ipswich against Coventry, and it's theirs to lose, isn't it, on Saturday at home to Huddersfield?
Yeah, and what a position to be in. Good return from those 2 games. Obviously, would have been disappointed losing the lead later at Hull, but yeah, really good recovery. When it goes back to 1-1 and Coventry had their period where they were probably on top in that game, like he made a outrageous save, really, didn't he? As well amongst it. Scrappy, horrible goal to win it. I don't think the Ipswich fans in that end of the ground actually knew it had gone into the back of the net until the Ipswich players wheeled away. But yeah, really important win. And I know Burns went off injured, didn't he? But just seeing him back in that type of form, seeing Hurst being available again, Chaplin, I think unused substitute on the evening, they've got real strength all of a sudden, and they go into a fixture which, if you were going to have your pick, this would probably be right up there, maybe along with Rotherham at home. The home record's been unbelievable. Huddersfield are not scoring goals. Huddersfield know their fate now. It's pretty much sealed. If they score early, it could be party time, couldn't it? So, I'm obviously strongly fancying Ipswich to get the job done now, clearly.
And all will be revealed from Sam in the predictions, which will be out later this evening. So it is two teams for one place, with Ipswich strong favourites. And given my allegiances, I will say no more, Sam, and we're going to move on to Worldie of the Week. So we're going to go all the way back to last Friday, Sam. I'm going to tell you my favourites, and you can tell me technically, after playing 7,000 football matches professionally, which the best goal was. I liked Anderson for QPR. Nice feet drilled in with the left foot. I liked Twine. I know it was a bit floaty, but he placed the free kick nicely in the corner, and he used to play for Swindon, so that means you'll probably vote for him anyway. Jake Cooper, Sam. What a header. Beautiful. He's not running at that. He loops the header in over the keeper. Jamie Patterson for Swansea at Norwich is a great goal. Good bit of passing, nice run, defending not great, slams it in the top corner. And then in the same game, Gabriel Sara, who's a brilliant player, barring in Thunder Bastard. And then take your pick of either of Amari Hutchinson's goals for Ipswich at Hull. What's your Worldie of the Week? And suggest yours in the comments, and we'll stick them up on the screen.
Yeah, some great shouts. Not a vintage week, I would say. I'll give you a second place and then an overall winner. I think Hutchinson's first goal. Yeah, the second one, I couldn't believe that nobody got out to him. I think someone came out of that kind of wall of Hull City defenders, midfielders, like an eternity too late. It was incredible. I'm thinking, how has he been afforded 10, 15 yards? I think Daniel Mann said as much in the commentary. So I'd have him in second for his first goal. I think the best goal, and he's probably been framed as the Worldie of the Week already this season. I'd go for Sara at Norwich, purely for a brilliant strike. And yes, Fevs is right. The kiss off the underside of the crossbar, which always makes it look even more aesthetically beautiful. So yeah, I thought that was probably the pick in a slightly below par week. Although Cooper's header to generate that type of power, I don't think it was almost like a standing jump, wasn't it?
Was it Mike Cooper in goal for Plymouth as well? Because he's a hell of a keeper as well to score that type of header against, isn't he?
Yeah, he's outstanding. And he's sorely missed every time he's not been available, and obviously missed a large chunk of football this season. So yeah, brilliant goal. But yeah, I'd probably go for Sara. It feels like they've been treated at Norwich. We had the early season form of Johnny Rowe, and then Nunez has had one or two Saints, and Sara's obviously chipped in with a few beauties as well. So yeah, that would be the pick this week. And he himself was pipped to the Player of the Year at Norwich by Kenny McLean. Did you see that?
Your former teammate, Sam. And
yeah.
it's going to be very interesting when we're talking about the playoffs, because individual players can win you playoff semi-finals. Norwich are 99% certain to be in the playoffs, and Sam has just outlined some very good individuals. And Johnny Rowe, we think, who we've raved about for lots of the season, is going to be back for them. Let's move on to our meltdown moment. Right, Sam, we're going to go chapter and verse on the relegation picture in the 1 from 4 a bit later with our mouthwatering matchup. But our meltdown moment is essentially the game that's set this all up and not really helped either team involved at the John Smiths last week.
Yeah, disappointing outcome, I think, for both. And in the aftermath, you've read, obviously large choruses of discontent from both sets of supporters. I think Huddersfield's season has been a mess. How do you normally frame it? Just carnage off the pitch, hasn't it? Mayhem off the pitch normally equals unhappy punters and poor results on it. So
and we hate the smell of 3 managers in one season, don't we?
Oh, yeah. And even the comments of Neil Warnock early part of the season, you felt it was only a stopgap, difficult position for him to be in. I'm sure he would have liked to probably the backing to go and do it properly for another year if they wanted him at the helm. Darren Moore, which was a bit of a disaster of an appointment. Let's get that right.
You called that, didn't you?
I did a little bit, and then that is due to a squad that lacks clearly in quality, in goal threat, in attacking impetus, in flair. That's badly where they need to improve. And that maiden victory for Brighton Writer at Watford and the really promising home draw against Leeds, if you remember that one, they could very well have won that game in the derby match there. It feels like a lifetime ago. The performance is encapsulated maybe by that draw against Birmingham, where they went with 2 up front, which has been a bit of a rarity and probably what some of the supporters have been calling for. But they've not scored, I don't think, more than 1 goal for goodness how long. So it's been a really poor end to the season for them. I thought, given those couple of performances I'd spoke of, the huge colossal victory over Millwall, they may be able to find 1 or 2 results, but it's been anything but promising the last few weeks. And I think Birmingham, again, I would have earmarked the home games that they have won for Gary Rowett to get his maximum points and give them an opportunity to stay in the division, and they've still got hope. And I think Norwich at home, given the permutations, how everything's looking, is still a very winnable game. Really good side, Norwich, don't get me wrong. Quality individuals, really good manager, have recaptured something like near their best form. But I still think that Birmingham have got an opportunity. So slightly better result for Birmingham, but no surprise, a game lacking in real quality chances and real quality. Probably what we anticipated from that game.
And I'm going to hold Sam's tongue there because we are going to talk in our mouthwatering matchup, which I suspect you can guess. Well, actually, you might not be able to guess. It's one of the 2 you're going to guess anyway. Later in the show, we're going to talk properly about the relegation. I can see, Sam, plenty of fans of the teams in the comments involved in what's going to be a pretty frightful final day for certainly 4 sets of fans on Saturday. Let's go a little bit further up the table and check out our cause for concern. So the playoff picture has kind of gone down to the last day, Sam, and our cause for concern is going to be West Brom, on the basis that we've had them locked in for 5th place pretty much all season. You can see they're on a run of 3 consecutive defeats going into final day. Honestly, Sam, the chances are they'll still get the job done. But what chance of West Brom being overtaken by Hull on the final day? Again, if you can keep your powder dry a little bit about Hull, because we need to talk about Plymouth in a minute. But a Hull victory and a West Brom defeat here at home to Preston. Could see a switch. Norwich look pretty safe given the goal difference. But talk to me about West Brom, Sam. And even if they do get in, I know we like Carlos Corberan a lot in kind of tournament football situation, but form's not good, is it?
Yeah, I don't know if subconsciously the players have just taken their foot off the gas a little bit because they felt they were there, that they'd accrued enough points over the middle part of the season to be in those playoffs and not close enough to have a push for automatic. So, yeah, 1 win in 7, and that was over Rotherham. I don't think they were brilliant on that day either. Was that possibly that really contentious penalty as well they got awarded that night? So they're not playing well. Yeah, and they're not playing well. You'd imagine Thomas Asante comes back in for this one. Jed Wallace is sterling a job as he normally does, playing as a false 9 or as the kind of focal point of the attack. I think they need that striking option in there to give them a little bit more of a goal threat than they've had in the last few weeks. And of course, there's a chance they could drop out. I mean, Hull have got this real array of attacking talent. They go into an Argyle team who, yes, they beat Leicester, but other than that, the form has been incredibly indifferent, especially at home park. And
Sam, if I could just jump in against Ipswich in the second half, when he just went for it, Rossini, they looked pretty lively attacking wise, didn't they? And they have to win at Plymouth, don't they?
Yeah, and I think there's goals in the team, isn't there? There's real threats. I've maybe been critical that they haven't clicked maybe as much as I would have expected them to, but there's still rather real quality there. So I think that's an incredibly difficult game for Argyle. And, I've championed their atmosphere and what they did in that game against Leicester and the game away at Rotherham, even though, an easier opponent, but they still turned up there, looked really united and put together a decent performance to win that game. So they need the power of that crowd at the weekend, but rightly so. I'm sure Hull will travel in their numbers and their fans will still be expectant that they could sneak in. So it's beautifully poised. The one difficulty, the one plus point for West Brom is they're coming up against the Preston side who historically have done this. 4 defeats on the spin, not scored a goal. I don't think in that time. It's petering out to another maybe slightly under par season, which I think if you look at the statistics, I think people probably hold me to account saying that.
Is that fair? Under par, 10?
Probably not in terms of the finish and probably not in terms of the points and not in terms of the wins, but the way that they were sitting, the way the season started, has the progression been enough, maybe? And, I'm not the person to answer that question, but it's a disappointing way to end the season when, 2 weeks ago, we were half fancying Preston to still make a fist of getting in the playoffs. So West Brom, again, if you're going to cherry pick a game, this would be pretty close to what you go for to secure your place in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one, but you're kind of right, Sam. We do like a bit of carnage from a neutral point of view. You could do with a Preston goal early on in the day, but when we get to the predictions, which I've mentioned a few times, are coming out later on today, I'll tell you where you need all the early goals on Saturday to get everything livened up. So we've done top, we've done playoffs. We are going to our mouth-watering matchup, and I've got a funny feeling we're heading down to the bottom of the table, Sam. Right, I'm going to bring the fixtures up on the screen just for the audience to see. Get your suggestions in for the mouthwatering matchup. Birmingham, Norwich, Coventry, QPR, Ipswich, Huddersfield, Leeds, Southampton, Leicester, Blackburn, Middlesbrough, Watford, Plymouth, Hull, Rotherham, Cardiff, Stoke, Bristol City, Sunderland, Sheffield Wednesday, Swansea versus Millwall, West Brom, Preston. Sam, for me, 2 absolutely stand out there where you've got teams in the playoff mix and teams in the relegation mix. But we have gone for
the aforementioned Plymouth against Hull.
Yeah, this just feels like the one, doesn't it? Where you've got Hull just outside the playoffs and Plymouth just outside the relegation zone. This feels like the one that could kind of set the tone for a lot of stuff. I do accept the argument, Sam, that if Birmingham don't do anything, if Birmingham immediately go 2 goals down against Norwich, then nothing's happening. We're going to have a quiet afternoon. And but in terms of Hull, as we've just mentioned, if they can get in front, and I think you've set it up quite nicely by saying there's goals in that Hull team, and Plymouth on the edges of it, ready to be shot at by Birmingham, and 2 points fewer than Blackburn and Wednesday. Sam, just to do the permutations completely here. So Blackburn, they score a point, are safe, but are away at Leicester, who are fancying a 100-point season and a title party. Sheffield Wednesday are at Sunderland, Sam. And you said to me, if you could cherry pick an opponent, maybe it would be Sunderland, given how they've fizzled out over the last couple of months. Plymouth at home to Hull, who need a win to potentially overtake West Brom into the playoff position should West Brom lose to Preston. There is a scenario, Sam, where if we were to get a massive goal difference swing, I think it's 9, is it, or is it 7? I'll have a look in a minute. I think it's 7, actually. But it needs to be 8 given goals scored between Norwich and Hull. You could mathematically have Hull overtake Norwich. And Sam, the goal difference there in terms of Hull banging in a few does make a difference to Plymouth, who have a 4-goal advantage over Birmingham. So were we to get a heavy Hull win, i.e. a 5-goal Hull win, Birmingham could overtake Plymouth with a draw, but really Birmingham need to win. So it does feel like this Hull Plymouth game has the most sort of riding on it in terms of both ends, Sam.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be surprised if there's loads of goals between the two sides in terms of the margin of victory either way. I think it'll be a pretty tight game. I think it'll be an open game because I think there'll be a spell where one or the other has to really go for it. Sitting here today, I don't want to make the predictions now, but I think Blackburn will be incredibly worried going into this weekend as well. I think Sheffield Wednesday, I think you're right. I said last time on the podcast, Sunderland are the team that want the holidays more than anyone, I think, in probably the country right now. So I don't see that being, a really tough game. I just think Leicester party atmosphere. If they score early, I've played in those games. It's really difficult. And they're not going to want to end the season with it petering out in front of the home fans when they're lifting the trophy. And there's no pressure on the Leicester lads. Let's be frank about it. They'll have been enjoying themselves the last week. The focus probably won't be on the game. They'll turn up and play and put on a show and have all that freedom. I think that's a real difficult game for Blackburn. So we shall see. I just think Hull have got that attacking array of talent. Argyle on the flip side's front players haven't been at it. So much so that Ryan Hardy was left out, was he not, at the Den? Morgan Whittaker played on the left-hand side. Some rejigs to that structure that I didn't really foresee happening. I can't see a situation where Ryan Hardy doesn't come back in this weekend, as indifferent his form has been towards the tail end of this season. So, yeah, they're going to have to find a goal and have to find a performance from their forward players who have probably not hit the heights of the early part of the season. But I think that's a really interesting game. But I think things could possibly be decided elsewhere.
Yeah, certainly going to be an interesting afternoon. And again, we will do the full predictions. And it's one of those horrible ones where Sam and I are just pulling out scorelines and realising what the implications might be of those scorelines for certain teams, which is not fun, given how many friends we have at Birmingham and at Plymouth, who are the most vulnerable. And then, as you say, Sam, Wednesday and Blackburn, a defeat. And you never know whether someone's going to be sneaking up and overtaking you. Right, let's move on to this season's final player to watch. And it's a bit of a nod to next season, Sam. Sam, given we don't know the entire Championship lineup for next season, if I were to give you 10 quid and say, go and have a bet on who's going to win the Golden Boot in the Championship, would your money be well spent betting it on Emmanuel Latte-Lath of Middlesbrough, who seems to have really settled and is on fire at the moment?
Yeah, you could maybe make an argument for the Coventry lads, couldn't you? The duo up top for them, if we anticipate them strengthening, although they may look a little bit different next season with some departures as well. But yeah, I'd like someone to clip up my early season comments about this bloke, because I think he was getting a little bit of criticism.
I'm not sure your arm slapping yourself on the back, Parkin.
I'm not sure if too much of it was coming from the Borough punters, to be quite frank, because I think they saw what I was seeing, which was a lot of willing, a lot of quality, getting into the goal scoring positions. Maybe his conversion rate wasn't as eye catching as it is right now, but I think for a first year in the second tier in England, all the demands it asks of you, without the goals, I think he was showing real signs of promise. Latte-Lath, if you haven't mentioned his name, I think you did. So he's just finishing the season with a flourish. They're going in all of a sudden. He's incredibly confident. What I like about him is there's an array of goals here as well. There's headers. There's finishes with his weaker left foot. One at Cardiff the other day.
35 in all comps, Sam.
17 and 35. Yeah, and he's had to carry the mantle for their goals. He's had to be the main man. And after what they had last year, which I probably described as a very, very unique front pairing of Akpom and Archer.
Brilliant.
Two of the, they were brilliant. They were sublime. There was that surprise factor. Nobody would have anticipated Akpom being able to play that role. And so effectively, Archer, I thought pound for pound was the best loan signing in the division, latter part of the season. And he's since gone on and shown that he can score goals in the Premier League. So big, big shoes to fill. And absolutely he's done it in abundance the last few weeks. But I saw that promise early on. So absolutely, I would probably say right now, given that I can't really predict which of the big hitters, if you like, are going to miss out on promotion and who's going to remain, probably the likes of Hurst would maybe be in the reckoning, maybe one of the Leeds lads if they miss out, certainly whoever Southampton's got up top. But yeah, Hadji Wright, Ellis Sims and Latte-Lath. Yeah, watch them next season. Go.
There you go. So our player to watch for the week is Emmanuel Latte-Lath, and great shout by Sam to throw in for next season two Coventry lads who've scored a lot of goals between them. Could we get a standout season like the one they've just had from Gyökeres at Coventry? Right, let's move on to the real quiz, Sam, and play the week that was. Right, I tightened it up, didn't I, Sam? Let me just check my text. Is it like 17:15 or something now? Fev's in the chat. Is it 18:16? I'm only 2 behind. It's going a bit better than the predictions, put it that way, where I'm going to have to go full Hail Mary in the last round. But these are our questions. I've seen Fev in the chat, actually, from the wonderful Fev at Fev's Football on Twitter. Great analytics pace. There he is, look. With an important stat there, Sam, 18:16. If we carry on through to the end of the playoffs, I could potentially catch you. Would you like to ask your question first, or would you like to answer your question first?
Oh yeah, I'm a bit hazy, mate. I was playing golf yesterday, and
that doesn't mean he was playing golf, ladies and gentlemen. That means he was in the clubhouse, doesn't it?
The après went on a bit, so I will go first. By the way? I played well, actually. I chipped in on the 12th hole. It was I'd say about 40 yards. It's been 80 yards by this morning. Each time I describe it, it's gone 10 yards further back from the hole. But yeah, I played well. It was good fun. Good fun.
Sorry, I spoke over you. I have a habit of doing that. Do you want to ask or be asked?
I'll go first. Get out of the way.
Okay, here is your question from Fev. I'm going to just close down my comments here so I can't see or do any cheating, but get your questions in. Morning, Ben. Your question for Sam is, who's the daddy? We went down a horrible rabbit hole with these question titles last week, didn't we? Let's not go down there again. Can Sam name the 5 scorers at the weekend, Friday to Sunday, not including Preston Leicester, whose father scored in the EFL / Premier League? So since 1992. So basically, Sam, there were 5 scorers over the weekend who had footballing fathers who scored goals in, the EFL Premier League. So the top 4 tiers, essentially, post 1992.
So I've got 3 off the bat.
Let's hear them.
I just mentioned one, didn't I? Hurst.
Whose father was?
David
Hurst of Sheffield Wednesday. That is correct. George Hurst scored for Ipswich at Hull.
Delap.
Same game. Yeah. Whose father, Liam Delap, whose father was Rory Delap.
Liam. Campbell. Stoke.
Very good. Tyrese Campbell. The brilliant Kevin Campbell of Arsenal and Forest, Everton.
Tell you what. He got one, definitely. Josh Windass.
It's very good. It's very good indeed. It's 4 out of 5.
No, I think I'll. He didn't score, did he? I was going to say, is it the EFL or is it the Championship?
Just
the dads.
Championship.
Just the the dads
players. No. The fathers can be anywhere.
Yeah. Well, he didn't score, did he? I was going to say Gibson, but that's not his dad, is it? And he's a chairman, his dad, isn't he? Ben Gibson. I'll retire on 4 because I've
done well.
Bristol City got one. What about Bell? Is he still going? Bell, Bristol City.
Didn't score at the weekend.
There you go. Good guess, though.
Good guess. The hardest one, Fev says, is Watford's Ryan Andrews, whose father is Wayne Andrews.
I did not know that. I played with him briefly. Yeah.
Did you actually? Tremendous. Jake Cooper's dad played for Reading in the late 60s, early 70s, but that was pre-EFL. Someone's put McAteer down there. I don't know if that is one, Callum, but Fev did specify not the. So Callum might be right in the chat that McAteer as a footballing father. But Sam, very impressive. 4 out of 5. I'm not confident. What is my question?
You have got a question on penalty takers, penalty shootout. Okay. Tommy Conway notched his 5th of the season at the weekend from the spot. Can you name the other 5 players who've scored at least 4 pens in the Championship this season? 4 penalties scored by each, 4 or more scored by 5 other chaps.
Okay. Surely the top teams have the most penalties, don't they? Would that be fair to say, Sam? I'm reading your facial reaction here.
Yes and no. Yes, in 3 out of the 5 are in the. Okay. 3 out of the 5. I'll give you this.
No,
3 out of the 5 are currently. 3 out of 5 currently in the top 6. I'll give you that.
I think Jack Clark scored a few penalties at the start of the season. Sam, am I correct?
Yeah, 1 from 1.
So who would be the Leicester taker? Because Vardy missed one, didn't he? I'm going to plead the 5th on Leicester. Is Somerville the taker for Leeds? I'm not sure. He's got
2 from
5.
2.
Okay, I'll take it. I'll take it. Southampton would be Adam Armstrong, I would have thought.
3 from 3. Right? 3 from 3. 2 to get.
West Brom, probably not. Who's in Norwich? Sergeant Norwich? No, not sure.
Go with your instinct for Leicester.
Vardy?
Correct. 4 from 4. 1 to get. Clock is
it a really tricky one?
Yeah, it's the hardest one, but he scored a very recent one in a big game.
Scored a very recent one in a big game.
Probably the most important goal, arguably, of their season.
No, I'm struggling, Sam.
Call it 4-4.
Go on, give us one more clue. We'll call it 4-4. Give us one more clue.
He's been mentioned probably 5 minutes ago on this podcast.
No, you have to tell me.
Had you right?
Oh, for God's sakes! Anyone get it in the chat? There you go. Actually, we'll get Callum on because he got the decisive one right in both parts. Right, we've got to do the predictions, but we can spare you 5 minutes. We think if anyone's got any questions for myself or Sam, get them in via the comments, and we'll round out the show today with that. If you're watching live on YouTube, please hit the thumbs up button. If you're listening after the fact on the audio, please give us a 5-star review and all of that good stuff. And we will take some questions. I'll wait a second. I didn't give you very, very much notice. 18.5 to 16.5. There we go. I'll read a comment here from Sam, Birmingham fan here. My guts are churning. Callie, Ben, you on the pitch with us on Saturday. Callie, I'm in the top tier of the Pioneer, and I am old, and I probably won't make it down, but I will if there is a pitch invasion. Observe said pitch invasion without joining, and especially if I'm vlogging as well, because that'd be an easy ban, wouldn't it, if I literally film myself going on the pitch. Sorry, one more here. Chris, will we see you in the... They're already in celebration mode, these Ipswich fans. Possibly, Chris. Let's see what happens in the game. Sam, QPR top half next season, maybe playoff push. Is it a case of calm down, Sam? But the manager's brilliant, isn't he?
Yeah, he's great. I think just the optimism amongst my family and my QPR supporting mates is on a different level to what it has been the last few years, which is great. I can't remember people looking forward to a season, enjoying the football as much as they have done. So he needs help, the manager, doesn't he? Needs probably better quality in the forward positions, maybe another couple of centre forwards, but I'm sure that's what he'd be looking to do. And absolutely, you know, then they're miles away from being a relegation side now. So absolutely top half. You got to be focusing on next season. Yeah.
Football with Brownie. Ben, would you want Ipswich to sign Keith Moore on a permanent? Yes, depending on what the fee was. Continuity is king. Another yes. Will these episodes continue through the playoffs? Sam Parkin is contracted until the end of May to do these episodes. So, yeah, we will be hearing from Sam through the playoffs. And I think there's some playoff questions in here. Sam, Rupert, who's winning the playoffs in your eyes, gents? From a Norwich fan who prays we make it at least. So it's looking like potentially Norwich, Southampton, and someone v West Brom, maybe. I don't know. Really difficult one to tell when you don't know what the semis are, Sam, isn't it?
I think it's hard. Any division, any scenario, it's just impossible, isn't it? It's going to be hard, isn't it, for the team that finishes third? That's going to be really difficult. If I was going to plump for one now, maybe go for Southampton just because of the quality and maybe the ability just to refresh a few tiring legs over the last few days when the other teams still haven't got that luxury.
Adam, he might have answered his own question here. Birmingham fan, who's been your surprise outfit this season? It might be Birmingham, given they're in playoff positions and there's potential that they're going to go down. I predicted Ipswich would finish 12th and they're currently second. Sunderland have surprised me in a bad way because I thought they had a good playoff challenge. I had Middlesbrough much higher up. Sam, who's been your surprise outfit this season?
Probably, obviously, Ipswich goes without saying. I would say Hull City, not because of what they've done since Christmas, because they really strengthened in January, and you can't not be impressed by the calibre of player they brought in. You know, I spoke about that support three behind the front man. That's as good as you're going to get in the Championship. One of the best support casts you're going to be able to get. But at the start of the season, before they did any business, I thought they were overhyped, Hull. So I think that probably shows you that they got a really good coach, really clever tactician, and he's been able to put together a really threatening side. So they don't make it this year. Absolutely watch this space next year if the squad looks anything like it does now.
Do a couple more, Sam. Blue Nose here. Whether Blackburn go up or down, who is in for Sammy Smodic in the summer? If Blues stay up, I think it does seem that given Venky's inability to get money out of India and FFP positions and having the top scorer in the Championship in a team that's in the bottom six, that he might be on his way. Do you think, Sam?
Yeah, I don't know where he'd pitch up. I'd have to have a think about that. Where he'd fit in. Obviously, he's given that Blackburn great options because he can play all across the front, really. So I suppose that comes into the thinking of a potential new employer, that he doesn't have to be the solo striker down the middle. He doesn't have to be part of a two. He can play wide. Normally teams are setting up with just the one front man, and he gives you options playing off either flank. Maybe one of the relegated sides would have a look at him, but equally, maybe one of the promoted sides, if Ipswich were to make it up, if Southampton were to make it up, that type of signing is always a good one and an interesting one when you're growing as a player and the club you're joining is on the up as well, and that coming together can be quite a nice unison. You can come together in, you know what I mean.
Steve's retro last one, manager of the year, also worst manager of the year. Obviously Sam knows these people, so it's not very fair, but I think Wayne Rooney's probably got to be in with a shout in terms of, and Ian Foster as well, just went horribly for him at Plymouth. Yeah. Manager of the year is Cifuentes, Roll, or McKenna, isn't it? It's one of those three probably.
Yeah, I mean, mitigating circumstances, but Sheffield Wednesday's manager at the outset, Munoz.
Oh God, yeah, fair.
Yeah, that would be a shout. Gareth Ainsworth would be a shout. Absolutely. I mean, managers that have come in as well and departed. Mid-season, Mick Beale, that would be another one, wouldn't it?
Oh God, yeah. It's been some horrible ones this year.
People will probably stick Joe Edwards in there, but that's harsh on someone. I think that's a really tricky job he was taking on. The best. I mean, absolutely. McKenna, Maresca, and then I'd probably go Danny Roll if they stay up, and Cifuentes in third, maybe. With Rosenia amongst it as well, amongst those three names there. But I think Danny Roll and Cifuentes absolutely have got to be in that top five for what they looking likely to have achieved.
Lots of people agreeing with you. Poor old Cisco.
Yeah, I plucked that, didn't I? Good pluck, that, wasn't it? Don't know where it come from.
I've forgotten about it. And I totally agree I did a bit on the relegation earlier in the week, Sam, and I think the entire reason we've got this ridiculous high tide is due to the fact that Cifuentes and Roll went into two teams that look absolutely doomed, and over the long term have taken them up towards 50 points. That's just dragged everything up.
Feels like such a simplistic thing to say, but surely some teams were probably taking their foot off the gas, or recruitment wasn't a high priority in January because of the way the division looked. And then all of a sudden you think these two have appointed people that really know what they're doing. The effects were so evident early on in the football that both teams were able to play. And the one more point on the QPR thing, it will probably look quite different to how it has done towards the tail end of this season, which has been, great performance going forward against Leeds. But the main imprint he's had on this side is making them more defensively stable. I think next year, going forward, the type of football they're likely to see, the attacking flair that they'll want to play, will be really exciting for QPR fans. And Sheffield Wednesday likewise as well, because you got a plan for getting points rather than fully expressing yourself when you're in such a dire situation, I suppose.
I suppose we should do some housekeeping here and say hi to the likes of Roy here ahead of next season. So big welcome back to Derby and Pompey after a long time, and we'll see who's going to join them or getting promoted from the playoffs over the next sort of 3-4 weeks. I think League One playoffs start on Saturday.
Saturday night,
we'll take a look at that and get Sam to take on who's going to make a difference coming up from League One. Although the bar has been set quite high by Sunderland and Ipswich over the last 2 seasons, haven't it, with top 6 finishes there. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We are going to turn the lights out and we will have the predictions for you, hopefully in a couple of hours. I cannot wait to see how our league tables are going to kind of come out, given that we can be completely decisive when we add our results into what's gone on already. Thank you, everyone, for watching live. Amazing numbers. And as I said, if you're watching or listening after the fact, do get your comments in your reviews. last word from you, Mr. Parkin, before we go off this live feed and into the predictions.
Yeah, thank you for all your input during the regular season, and enjoy the weekend and see you for the playoffs.